But another topic that I really want
Yeah.
to go into that is sort of similar to these, dynamics between these different communities, um, is the
Mm,
topic of the disparities between various Asian ethnic groups. In the last several years,
mm,
we had United States elected Barack Obama and then immediately elected Donald Trump as
mm.
president. And so within these, 10 years, so much has changed within our politics, within our media, within our culture. And included in those changes is a growing movement of people who are openly hostile towards Black, Indigenous, Latino, and Asian people. And sort of this far right movement has definitely grown in this country. But I also know that the United States isn't the only place where these problems are growing. When you look at
Yeah.
the changing landscape over in Asia or even in Japan, being there and being immersed in these scenes and in these subcultures, what changes
Mm.
did you sort of notice? What changes stood out? What things have changed either for the better or maybe for the worst?
Well, in Japan, a country that is 95% Japanese, the main immigrant population is Korean and Southeast Asian. Um, and amongst Japanese people, especially the older generation, Southeast Asians and South Asians are looked at as like less. So it's a major form of colorism that occurs within the East Asian community, and uh, that is a huge issue. Like even makeup in Japan, you get two colors. Like it's the light or like the light medium. You don't. So even if you're a darker shade of Japanese, good luck finding something because that's what you've got. So it's just like one way seems to be very it seems to be it's a collectivist society in Japan. So like the nail that stands out gets pounded back down. So if you are like Southeast Asian or Korean, you're basically taught to be as Japanese as you possibly can because it's better to blend in than to stand out. So what I've noticed over the last 10 years is that is slowly with millennials and Gen Z, that is slowly getting less of a thing. It's becoming more okay to accept that you are not Japanese or you're half Japanese and you're half some other kind of Asian ethnicity. So I've noticed an improvement there. And like I said, when I did the fashion walks and stuff, it wasn't all Japanese. I met a lot of people from Thailand. There was someone from Cambodia, the Philippines. Like there was a huge Chinese Americans. There was a huge diverse group that at another time it would just be if you look at that Japanese fashion magazines in the 90s, they're all Japanese. But as time goes on and you see different like Harajuku fashion magazines from the 2010s, there's like people from Thailand, people from China, America, like there's all over. And there was even a girl that I met, she was from Africa. So I thought that was just the coolest thing to see that people come together through music, fashion, pop culture. And but on a business level, there is still an issue with people that come from countries outside of Japan, especially Southeast Asia, China, Korea. They don't get the same opportunities as someone that is Japanese. Um, they have to prove themselves more. Like they have to have more credentials, more education to do the same job that a Japanese person only needs a certain set of credentials to do. And I honestly don't know if that's changing because I haven't been over there for a while, but I don't know if that's changing. I like to hope that it is because that's something that really needs to change. When I was a teenager, I used to think that because I see that in America capitalism is bad because it's based on oppression and white supremacy and I lost my word. Systemic racism and everything with how it began with slavery and everything. But in Japan, I was under this. it's like the glamorized face of how it's like, but in Japan, capitalism works. No, it just is, it's oppressive in a different way. Instead of it being oppressive because it's different races and cultures, it's oppressive because of socioeconomic status or what kind of education you were able to get, or men versus women, heteronormative society versus LGBTQ. It's just a different way that it oppresses people. So that was a major, that's one, I'm glad I was able to have that experience and see that no, no, little Atto, no, you were entirely wrong. So um, it just, I have noticed that now there is more, like with Naomi Osaka and with the Olympics and everything. There was a huge thing about her, people saying that she wasn't Japanese. And it's like,
I remember that.
yeah, she is. She's Japanese. She's Black Japanese. Like, that's a real thing, you know. And I always know it, like, they were quicker to claim white Japanese mix. Any person of color Japanese mix. Like that seemed to be something that it's like have to, if the European and Japanese, it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's like the standard of beauty without makeup. But then it's like any person of color plus Japanese, it's like you're not Japanese, you're Filipino, or you're Black, or you're whatever ethnicity you are for the other side. And but no, you're Japanese. And so I'm glad that Japan was forced to have to look at themselves a little bit with that one. And she's loud about it. And I think that's the greatest thing. Like, that's how you need to be. Like, she needs to be loud and proud of who she is.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I totally remember that, and I remember there was also that. I think there was like a couple years ago there was the half black, half Japanese Miss Japan, or there's some sort of like beauty pageant.
Yes.
And it was sort of a similar thing, right?
Yeah, they said she couldn't be Miss Japan because she wasn't Japanese. And it's like, wait, yes, she is.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, and
what do you mean she can't be?
And I'm glad that you really brought up that whole dynamic about how there's this bias towards thinking that half Japanese people who are half white, there's just this automatic like, oh wow, you're the beauty standard, whereas the treatment for people who are half black is like totally different.